Hey guys, how's everyone doing? We're going to go live for maybe about half an hour or so. I've literally just uploaded a video giving my initial reaction to this, but I thought, considering that I know that everyone's going to be talking about this for the next however long, because it's just an unbelievable story. It truly is just an incredible story. Talking about the release of Bray Wyatt from WWE. So we're going to go live, get in a bit of the chat, get people's initial reactions, talk about what is really going on, or maybe what, I mean, we don't know really truly what is going on right now when it comes to Bray Wyatt, his WWE release. It is crazy. It truly is crazy. It's a really just shocking, absolutely shocking news story. Again, I put my initial reactions up there in the video on YouTube, but I thought we'd react here, do a bit of get people's reactions, ask them questions, talk about Bray Wyatt's career, what he achieved, and what WWE frankly got wrong when it comes to Bray Wyatt and his WWE career. It's just shocking. It's absolutely shocking. So if you're not aware, then you will be aware, obviously clicking on this video. But essentially, it came out about 45 minutes ago, maybe now. Again, what was crazy how it happened, and not that I'm the center of the universe at all. I happened to be on my phone at the time. And I'm just tapping away, and you have certain alerts that come up, especially when you have a YouTube channel like this, or you write for certain websites, or you're involved, or you're a pro wrestling fan in general. You have alerts that come up, and an alert came up on my phone. It was a tweet by WWE saying that Bray Wyatt had been released, and I clicked on it immediately. I went, "That's crazy!" And I put a tweet out saying, "What? Bray Wyatt's he's been released by WWE? What is going on?" Basically, right now. And they deleted it. They deleted it really quickly, WWE. And I started to think to myself, right, that's a hacker. Is that someone hacking? Is that somebody? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I thought, is that somebody hacking into the WWE Twitter account? Is that somebody doing whatever? We don't know what it is, but is that somebody doing whatever in the Twitter account? Because it got deleted and it was moved, it was taken down straight away. Essentially, it was taken down because they hadn't put a link to the website. That was the reason ultimately why the tweet was deleted by WWE. Because it was then confirmed by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful that he had just heard that Bray Wyatt had been released by WWE. That was what was going on right now, and that Bray Wyatt was gone. WWE then posted a follow-up tweet stating that indeed he had been released. It was very short, very sweet. It literally just said, WWE has come to the terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. You then click through to the website. The website WWE.com says exactly the same thing. WWE has come to the terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in all of his future endeavors. That's all we know right now. That's literally all we know. We don't know anything else. I'm not going to be one of those people that speculates on these things. It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's not right. I know people are talking about his health and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're not going to get into that here today. We're not going to get into that. And if you want to see my just immediate initial reaction to it all, I literally filmed it seconds, honestly seconds after the news came out. So check that out on the channel. It's Bray Wyatt has been released by WWE. That's how that's the video there, and it is again obviously completely shocking. Unbelievably surprising news, and it's incredible. Esco Israel says he might just retire at this point. I don't think so. I don't know, again, because we don't know right now. I don't know if his release is related to any of the reasons why he's been off television. Look, someone doesn't just leave the company. Someone doesn't just leave the company for no reason. Obviously, something's happened here. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a case of health, creative frustrations, whatever. It could be a combination of a lot of things. We don't know right now. All we can do is give initial reaction. All we can do is reflect on his career, I think, right now in WWE. And that there's a lot of ammunition there, certainly, to reflect on when it comes to his career. But in terms of retirement, look, we don't know. We just don't know right now, so I don't know. Andrew Pollard, one of the mods here on the channel, appreciate you, Andrew, says, shocked? Yeah, everyone is. I think everyone is. And I think everyone is very shocked about what's going on here and what this is. know if any more releases are coming. Sean Ross Sapp's been on social media, said he doesn't know if any more releases are coming. I know that Meltzer said more to come, which some people have interpreted to say more releases to come. I think probably it means more to come in terms of the Bray Wyatt story as to why he has been released by WWE. So we'll have to wait on that. Obviously, if we get news as we're live, we'll react to it. That's why I wanted to come live as well. I wanted to sort of put the initial video out there as the reaction, but I know, again, because that was only like a 10, 12-minute video, it was just a case of I wanted to be like, right, I know more's going to happen. And the problem is with these kind of stories, you do have to kind of be live because just more waves and waves and waves will come of it. So this is more kind of, again, like I said in the title, a reaction stream. I'm going to get your comments in and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's very shocking. Warren says the writing was on the wall. Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think obviously being off television for such a period of time, and the strange thing with Bray Wyatt recently is the secrecy, isn't it? I think that's the thing that's been confusing a lot of people, is really truly the secrecy that's involved in not knowing what's going on with him at the moment. We know, if you're not aware, so Bray Wyatt, he wrestled his last match at WrestleMania 37, night 2, first match of the evening against Randy Orton. Everyone thought Randy Orton was going to win. Everyone thought he was going to win. Bray Wyatt was going to beat Randy Orton, because that's the storyline. That was the storyline. He was going to beat Randy Orton. That was the storyline. And he didn't. He lost. Alexa Bliss turned on him. It was very confusing. The lights went out. They disappeared. That was it. And reportedly, the plan was for Bray Wyatt to win that match. That was the plan. Bray Wyatt was going to win that match. And the day of, the decision was made, we're going to change it. Randy Orton wins. Alexa Bliss turns on him. Following night on Raw, Bray has a Firefly Funhouse segment, says that you can't trust anyone, all this kind of stuff, time for a fresh start, and we never saw him again. Never saw him again. Now, as to why he's been off television, we've seen reports that have basically said it's not a creative issue, it's not a case of he's got heat, it's not a case of this, it's not a case of that. He is being kept off television for a specific reason, but nobody knows what that is. There's a lot of secrecy around it. So maybe Warren's right. Maybe there was writing on the wall. I just myself, a talent like Bray Wyatt is, a talent that has been incredibly creative, a talent that has reinvented himself numerous times in WWE, and every single time got that character over and then creatively been cut off at the knees, which is what has happened here. He's been creatively cut off the knees several times by WWE. I just never thought they would let him go, because ultimately, WWE creative and Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and whatever, they can have their misconceptions, or they don't think this person's worth this or worth that, but they know talent when they see it, because they're very hesitant to let talent go, especially in this modern era where they can go to an AEW. They know Bray Wyatt's talents, so I never thought Bray Wyatt would get released. So that's why the shock in all of this, right? That's the shock in all of this, is that whilst Bray Wyatt wasn't on television and obviously something's going on, I don't think anyone saw it ending up like this, where he would no longer be employed by WWE. That's really the shocking thing, and I think that's the thing that's shocking everyone about this. So, and again, we don't have details, and it's not fair to speculate on them, but it's crazy. Adam Walker says, given how full some of the other top-tier places are, AEW, Impact, etc., anyone expect Bray Wyatt to move into TV films as either an actor or a director? I don't know. Obviously, people straight away, and they already are starting now to speculate about the AEW possibility. And look, let's be honest. AEW is a much more a place where you can have far more creative freedom. There is no doubt about that. The creative freedom, even someone like Malachi Black, who's just arrived in AEW, is already talking about the creative freedom of his character and what he's able to do and what he's allowed to do with his character. All that kind of stuff would suit Bray Wyatt, coming from somewhere where, look, he for a long period of time he hasn't been creatively fulfilled. He hasn't been able to do what he wants to do in WWE, and some of the concepts and characters he's come up with are some of the most creative characters that we've seen in WWE, certainly in recent history. So maybe an AEW would be a great place for him. But again, we don't know the situation right now. That's what I keep having to stress here. We don't know the situation. We just don't know that situation right now. And I think that's important to stress too. Warren says, I hope Impact signs him. Bray would be great in Decay as their leader. I mean, look, we cover Impact Wrestling on the channel. We're going to be doing Impact Homecoming, the watch along tonight, and a post-show reaction stream. Bray Wyatt isn't going to Impact Wrestling, unfortunately. He's a big star, unless Impact really broke the bank. But Bray Wyatt's a real top-tier special talent. Bray Wyatt's a draw. Bray Wyatt is a guy that's a former WWE champion, Universal champion, one of the most creative minds in the business. He will have no issues getting any kind of work at all. Obviously, AEW is the most likely destination if he even continues in pro wrestling. But look, this guy's what, a third generation wrestler. Obviously, the son of IRS, Mike Rotunda. He's it's in his blood, and it's what he knows. So I would assume, one would assume that he would be continuing in the pro wrestling business. But you're right. If the guy wanted to be an actor, he's a very good actor, very good actor, and a very good reciter of lines and a reciter of verbiage. A very creative guy. Guy can do anything he wants. And also as well, look, he's one of the last guys, especially in this modern era, to be able still to have this element of kayfabe about him. You know, the Undertaker no longer exists in kayfabe. He doesn't do kayfabe stuff anymore. He broke that kayfabe because he's retired. He's more Mark Calloway than the Undertaker nowadays on social media and in interviews and stuff like that. Bray Wyatt's not really like that. Bray Wyatt's old school mentality. You might see a rare Bray Wyatt interview, but out of character, but very rare, especially nowadays with The Fiend. I remember when he was facing Seth Rollins at Hell in the Cell in 2019, what a mess that was. Talk about WWE just again making mistakes with this character. He did some kind of promotional thing with one of the local markets, and he did the weather or something like that, but he did it in character. He's kayfabe, he's old school. And that's, I think, another part of the fascination that a lot of people have with him is that he's an old school kayfabe guy. Not a lot of people know a ton about him. And the crazy thing as well, and I will get to your comments. I can see the chat's open. I will get to your comments. If you are new to the channel as well, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Smash a like on the like button. We're going to have a load of stuff coming up about this and so much stuff coming up over the next couple of days. But there was a picture of him floating around. We covered it on one of the news videos. I think it might have even been yesterday. I mean, that recent. That was Bray Wyatt was spotted in a grocery store. He was spotted in a local grocery store wherever he lives. I think he lives in Florida, and he was spotted in a local grocery store. And someone snapped a picture of him with a fan. He took a picture of a fan. He looked great. I mean, really physically looked great. And you got to remember, Bray Wyatt's a bigger guy, and he's hardly ever been a body guy by any stretch of the imagination. Especially when you go back to those Husky Harris days, he's a bigger guy. But the picture of him in this local grocery store, he looked tremendous. Really looked tremendous. Looks like he slimmed down a lot, looked to be in great shape. And a lot of people were saying, well, he's in great shape. Why is he not on television? And again, we don't know the answer. We don't know the answer to that, but it's very surprising. Very surprising. We will be doing as well a video. I'll probably drop it tomorrow, I think, because I'll probably wait to get everyone's reaction to this. There's going to be a lot of reaction from WWE superstars, former WWE superstars, friends of Bray Wyatt, stars across the pro wrestling industry. I think we're going to do a reaction video tomorrow showing everyone their tweets, their posts, and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be worth looking at, because I'm just looking in front of me now. Of course, there's a ton of reaction on social media, as there's a ton of reaction in the comments. One from Braun Strowman saying, "Brother, I'm waiting." I know that Matt Hardy has mentioned, discussed Bray Wyatt as well. There's a lot going on. There really is a lot going on. Let's check the live chat. Ishak says Bray Wyatt should join AEW. In addition to that, Braun Strowman should not re-sign with WWE after they release Bray Wyatt and join AEW with him. Well, there is interest. There is interest, I know, from AEW in Braun Strowman. I know Braun Strowman is interested in AEW. I think it's interesting that we're hearing these stories about people like Braun Strowman and WWE being interested in bringing back people like Braun Strowman, and reportedly that's spurred on because of the likes of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan signing with AEW. Reportedly, WWE are looking at going, oh gosh, we need to do something. We need to bring some people back. We need to save a bit of face. It's interesting that despite that, they then released Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt being released doesn't seem to be part of budget cuts. I might be wrong, because we might have more releases coming. But if we were going to have more releases coming, WWE would have done that in a separate post, and we haven't seen that yet, and I don't think we will. This feels like an anomaly. This feels like something between Bray Wyatt and the WWE. This feels like something of, I don't know, a clash of opinion, a clash of whatever. Whatever it is, it's been bubbling. There's no doubt about that. It's been bubbling for a while, and now the situation's gone where he's no longer with the company. Just what a crazy year it's being for WWE right now in terms of personnel leaving, okay? We're talking these kind of names that are leaving WWE. We're talking Braun Strowman. I know Aleister Black maybe isn't at the level right now of a Strowman or a Wyatt, but we're looking at people like Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt leaving the company. And they were in featured matches at WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt opening match night 2. Braun Strowman steel cage match against the boss's son, Shane McMahon. The entire Wyatt family You know, none of them are no longer with the WWE anymore. Bray Wyatt, of course, not there. Braun Strowman, not there. Eric Rowan, not there. And, of course, Brody Lee, God rest his soul, not there as well. It's just, it's absolutely staggering. And it's a shocking story. It absolutely is a really shocking story. Robert says, WWE going down, get rid of Vince McMahon, killing the company. I don't think that's fair, Robert, to be honest. I know a lot of people will look at this and say, something wrong with Vince or whatever. The issue is with stuff like that is we don't know the situation. We don't know the situation right now. And I'm not a WWE defender. I'm not a WWE mark. There's been a lot going on about stuff like that on social media. I mean, some of the comments people have been putting, like Daniel Bryan's Instagram, is just madness. Pro wrestling fans in general, sometimes it's crazy. Look, I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day when it comes to WWE. Talking about the comments about Vince McMahon when he said, we don't view AEW as competition, which is a load of nonsense because, of course, they are competition. But I was discussing it with a friend of mine, and I was saying that, and I think it's good to point out, WWE, they released their quarterly profits and all this kind of stuff the other day. They're more profitable than ever. They've got more revenue than ever and all that kind of stuff. Is that partially due to releasing talents? Yes. But they make a lot of money. They've got these great TV deals with Fox, $1 billion. TV deal with NBC Universal for NXT and Monday Night Raw, close to $1 billion. That's $2 billion right there just for television. They got the huge deal with Saudi Arabia to make those pay-per-view events. That's a ton of money as well. They've got $1 billion to have their shows on Peacock, their pay-per-views on Peacock. That's $1 billion. We're talking over $3 billion just on that alone. We're not even talking about merchandise, royalties, video games, whatever. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking television and Saudi events alone. We're talking over $3 billion. So when they look at AEW and they say, well, we don't view them as competition, it's because they don't care. They don't care. They don't care because they make money. The real point when they'll start to care is when it really starts to affect their pocket. And like the guy said on the investor call, when he asked Vince McMahon about it, and Vince McMahon couldn't wait to get his swipe at AEW about it, the point when it will matter is when a couple of years' time, these television deals start to come up. And once those deals start to come up, say in maybe 3 years or so when these deals do come up, if Monday Night Raw and AEW Dynamite are pretty much level in terms of same viewership, but Dynamite has a higher demo, then NBC Universal can go to WWE and say, why would we pay you $1 billion for Raw when TNT aren't paying that much for Dynamite, and Dynamite's actually the number one show on cable when they air? That's the thing. That's the issue right there. So WWE can say right now we don't care about competition, but man, if you get an AEW roster, now that's got all the talent they've got already on there, plus a CM Punk, plus a Bryan Danielson, plus a Bray Wyatt, you kidding me? That moves the needle. Now, again, we don't know the situation when it comes to Bray Wyatt. Time will tell. Time will tell, but it's crazy. It really is crazy. The Big FP says, I like how Vince jokes saying we don't mind lending talent to AEW, or really reference we should give them more talent, is referencing that investor call. A day later, Bray Wyatt released by WWE. WWE is completely screwed if they're going this route. I don't think they're lending people to AEW. Again, I think this is, to be honest with you, I think it really is an anomalous story. This is obviously something between Bray Wyatt and something and whatever. We'll double check as well, because again, whilst we're live, we can look at all of this. So according to Meltzer right now, this is interesting. According to Meltzer, Bray Wyatt's release was down to budget cuts. I struggle to believe it. I really struggle to believe that. But maybe it is, but I would really struggle to believe that. I mean, budget cuts, because again, when we talk about Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, so Braun Strowman was released again because of budget cuts. His contract was over $1 million a year. WWE didn't want to pay that, so they fired him. And then the discussion was, we'll bring him back, and we'll renegotiate his contract. We'll give him less money. If you're Braun Strowman, or if you're Bray Wyatt, and you do have other companies that are out there, like an Impact Wrestling, like an AEW, like a Japan, like New Japan Pro Wrestling, that can pay you good money, why would you go back? If WWE then called you, if WWE fired you, if WWE, you get a phone call, if you're Bray Wyatt, former Universal Champion, former WWE Champion, you get a phone call from WWE. Sorry, Bray, you haven't been on television recently, you're fired. Sorry, boom. They do that. And then they call you 3 months' time. Hey, Bray, want to come back? Can't pay you as much money, By the way, yesterday we did tell everyone how much money we're making. That wouldn't fly with me. I'm not a bitter guy, but I don't try not to hold a grudge, but I think I'd be pretty pissed off about that. I don't know about you. You can let me know what you think in the live chat there. But I would be very annoyed with that. That would frustrate the hell out of me. I'd be like, screw you. You fired me and now you want me to come back for less money? I'm not going to have that. I'm going to go somewhere. I might make less money, but certainly I'll have creative freedom, and I'm going to shove it up you guys for firing me still during a pandemic when I'm off television. Again, we don't know. That's what's even worse, I suppose, as well. If say, for instance, and I'm really hesitant to say this because I don't like to speculate. I really don't like to speculate. But say, for instance, Bray Wyatt is off of television because of some issue. We don't know what it is. Whether he's injured, whether, whatever it is. Say he's off television for that reason. He's getting ready to come back. We know he's in great shape. He's lost a ton of weight. Looks great. He's doing really great work, trying really hard to get cleared and to get back in the ring, do what he loves and be this creative character again, come up with a new version of himself, evolve the character. You're doing all of that hard work. Then you get a phone call. Sorry, budget cuts, you're fired. You'll be like, whoa. I remember you being on a call the other day telling everyone, telling the world, bragging to the world about how great the zombies were, how much the zombies made us a ton of money, how much Peacock's made you a load of money, how more people are watching the show now because of Peacock, all that kind of stuff, right? But budget cuts? Really? Budget cuts? I'd be livid. I'd be livid about that. Now, again, we don't know the situation, but I mean, it's a good point, though. I mean, the Big FP did mention that, Vince goes, maybe we should give him more talent, and then you release Bray Wyatt like the next day because of budget cuts. I find it fascinating. I mean, WWE, WWE since day one when it comes to AEW, and WWE fans don't like to admit this, but it's the truth. Since day one, and they do this for every company that ever threatened them, whether it's WCW, TNA back in the day, AEW, they do everything to cut them off at the knees, right? They do everything to counter-program, cut them off at the knees. It's business. It's not nice, but that's what they try and do. There's even rumors about WWE reaching out to Domino's and reaching out to certain media sources to say, hey, run a story about Nick Gage and his pizza cutter this week. Run that story because then maybe AEW can lose sponsors. There is a bit of reality in that story, by the way, which is insane. Insane for a company that doesn't consider AEW competition, but that's the rumor. But there is truth in that rumor as well. It's crazy to me that WWE, they try and counter-program AEW. They put NXT opposite on Wednesday nights, and that failed. They try to do all of that. They do all of these things to counter-program or hurt these companies, yet at the same time, they're helping AEW, right? When you release people like Bray Wyatt, if Mouch is correct, it's down to budget cuts. You are just giving. I mean, talk about giving your competition ammunition. I mean, you might as well, you're throwing gasoline on a big fire there. At a time where it's pretty much confirmed now, Punk and Bryan have signed with AEW, and if Bray Wyatt is medically healthy, he's going to go there. And AEW right now, if I'm people within AEW, I don't know about Tony Khan, but certainly people that are friends with Bray that work with AEW right now, which there are quite a few. Jericho's got a good relationship with him. I would be stunned, absolutely stunned right now if Chris Jericho hasn't got out a phone and been like, hey, Bray, or give him a text, sucks, but there's a spot ready for you. We want you to come in. You know for a fact that's going to be the case. Because a guy like Bray Wyatt doesn't come on the market that much. He just doesn't. He really doesn't. So, I mean, let's check the live chat as well. If you are new to the channel, we've got nearly 55 people watching right now, which is awesome. Smash a like on the like button as well. Really does help us out. See if we can get, I don't even know how many likes we got on the video right now. If you are new to the channel as well, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We're going to have a ton more about this story because it really is a truly insane story right now. It's still breaking, still having more information. That's why I decided to go live and talk about it. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, smash a like on the like button too. Again, we're trying to find out more about this release when it happens. So if we do have any more information, we'll have a look. Again, there's a story. Was out there a while. There was a story out there again a couple of months ago talking about Bray Wyatt and the reason that he was off. Talking about the reason that he was off of television, and it was such a BS report. It's got to be said. It was such a BS report, and I don't even know if I really want to go into the scope of it. But broad strokes. Again, there was a report a while ago and from a really, I mean, I don't want to curse too much, but bullshit source, talking that Bray Wyatt was off because of, talking about he was off because of the passing of Brody Lee, basically. And that was nonsense. There was no source, or there was no credible source, no credible anything involved in that report. So it's BS. It's BS. So that is what it is. I mean, Sean Ross Sapp literally in the last couple of seconds or so has said Bray took time off, but I don't know if it was a BS rumor. Putting that out there publicly, whether true or not, was dog shit of this guy to do as well. So that is what it is. Davon Griffin is saying it's up to 28 likes. Really appreciate that, guys. Let's try and get up to 30, whatever. And be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Again, there is going to be more coming out about this Bray Wyatt report. I know that, again, Sean Ross Sapp is going to be posting a Fightful Select report. We'll probably get in trouble for reading that out because they don't like that when it happens, but screw it. We'll do it. We'll talk about it as we're live here on the channel. Again, Dave Moutzer, if you are just joining us, Dave Moutzer is reporting that Bray Wyatt was released due to budget cuts. Wyatt himself reportedly was expecting to return in August. That's the latest information we're getting right now, which again is very interesting. That's I guess that would jive with what we've seen recently when it comes to those images of him in that grocery store looking healthy, looking great, looking in fantastic shape. It would jive with that he thought he was going to be back next month. And talk about the rug being pulled from you as well. You're off to television for such a long period of time. If it was just a creative issue, let's address this as well. Imagine this is just a creative thing, right? He was off television from WrestleMania, and the reason he's told is because, look, Bray, not that we don't have anything for you, but the character's great. We love the Fiend. Fans are going to be coming back around August time. We'll keep you off of television. We'll bring you back for SummerSlam. Big idea, right? That's what we'll do, right? Imagine you think, great, I'll have some time off. I'll get in great shape. You'll bring me back when fans are back. We'll get back up and running. He gets into great shape. He does all of this. He's tries hard, trains in the gym, all this kind of stuff. He's getting ready thinking, right, I'm going to be back. Well, it's July the 31st today, so I'm going to be back anytime now. Anytime now, we're going to be back. Then they get the phone call, by the way, budget cuts, you're fired. That would be maddening to me, to be honest. And again, I don't want to be, I try myself, and I don't know about Bray Wyatt. I try myself not to be that guy that holds grudges, or not to be that guy that can be very bitter about what people say and do to me, but that would sit very wrong with me. If I get myself into great shape, if I try to do whatever, and I take some time off, and then I get fired for it, under the guise of budget cuts. And I was thinking about this earlier on, when it comes to WWE and that budget cuts line, it's really difficult. It's really, really difficult, isn't it? To listen to an executive, whoever it would be. I mean, you would probably suspect it's probably, Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis is probably making that call. He's the executive vice president of talent relations right now. He's the point man for talent relations. So if it's John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, if he's calling up Bray Wyatt, it would really bother me if I get fired and the reason they say is budget cuts. And again, Bray Wyatt's a senior guy on the roster. Talking about former multiple-time world champion, and again, talking about a guy that's well respected and very well liked in the locker room. He's a bit of a locker room leader because he's been around so long. If I get the call from Johnny Ace and I'm told that I'm fired because of budget cuts, but then 2 days before, the company is bragging, and that's what they do on those investors calls. They brag, and they try and persuade those investors to buy more stock in WWE. I would be furious if I get fired because of budget cuts whilst you're telling everyone else how profitable you are. Sorry, we need to let you go because we need to make more money. Now, don't get me wrong, because I know people will be out there and they'll say, well, that's just business, Owen. That's just business. And it is at the end of the day. It's just business. But you have to think of the image. WWE cares so much about PR. You get Stephanie McMahon retweeting stuff on social media all the time about how great of a company WWE is. WWE won this great humanity award, and WWE did this, and WWE did that. For a company that likes to talk about how great their PR is, and how great their community outreach is, and how great it is to work for WWE, they treat their talent and their employees like garbage, like absolute garbage. And in fairness, Tony Khan's not a dumb man. Tony Khan, he did his interview with Forbes. That was last month. Tony Khan did his interview, and he made a big point of mentioning it, and I don't think he does it as maybe a bit of personal pride, but also he's smart in that he's saying, look, in the pandemic, we didn't release anyone. We only released a couple of people or whatever, because I'm a people person. I care about my employees. I care about my talent. That speaks volumes. That might fly under the radar for a lot of people, but if you're a talent, if you're a top-tier talent, and you've got some guy, and you work for WWE, and you've got some guy in the other company, the boss of the other company that's saying, look, you come here, we'll give you, total creative freedom. You're not Hulk Hogan, but you come over here. It's a collaborative effort. You can kind of have a creative input on your character, all this kind of stuff. And by the way, if you're off television for whatever reason, or you decide to get take some time off, take some time off. I'm not going to fire you, and then I'm not going to say it's budget cuts, and then at the same time, I'm not going to be telling everyone how much money we're making by firing people. And I get it that it's business, and I get that that's the corporate world, and sometimes the corporate world isn't fair and it's not nice. It doesn't make it right, though. That's the important thing to realize there. It doesn't make it right. And WWE, for whatever reasons, I know they'll always have people come in because it's everyone's dream, right, to work in WWE. It's everyone's dream to come into WWE and be a WWE superstar and wrestle in the Royal Rumble match and wrestle at WrestleMania and win the WWE Championship or the Women's Championship. That's people's dream. They will never struggle for talent, WWE. What they will struggle, though, is to keep talent if they realize that if I'm on the WWE roster right now, right, I've got to be looking around going, like, even if I'm anyone, if I see people like Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt getting released, nobody's safe. And I'm thinking, man, next time I take some time off television, I'm going to be gone for no reason. Apart from fantasy budget cuts. Budget cuts. Isn't it so difficult, guys, being a billionaire like Vince McMahon? Budget cuts. I've got to release it. Why would the pandemic. You're not making that much money then? No, we're making loads of money. Loads. Way more than we've ever have. More profitable than ever. Are you an investor? No. You're a talent. We've got to let you go. Budget cuts. Investor. We're making so much money. You might as well buy our stock right now. It's never going to be better. Who are you? Saudi prince. You can pay us money. We'll go over to Saudi Arabia if you want. You're a talent. Budget cuts. Sorry, we've got to... You know what I mean? It's just... the constant spinning and lying and all that kind of stuff would drive me mental. It would drive me mental. I would be, thank God I'm not a pro wrestler, because I would be in that company, whatever position I had, whether I'd be a talent, whether I'd be a writer, whether I'd be a producer, whether I'd be ever, I would lose my mind instantly, because how can you work in that environment? And we've been hearing this for years at this point. CM Punk, right, he's just signed with AEW. When he had that infamous interview with Colt Cabana after he left WWE, he said it's the most creatively stifling place in the world. It's such a corporate BS atmosphere. Nobody's happy there. Everyone's unhappy. They don't like it there, but the money's good, and it's a WWE superstar and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you would lose your mind. I remember yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, guys. Yesterday, you can see it on Twitter. Carl Anderson, one half of the Impact Tag Team Champions, appears on Dynamite, appears on New Japan, on Impact, and AEW. Again, this was talking about those quarterly earnings calls, and it was Vince McMahon talking about AEW's not competition, blah, blah, blah. And Kyle Anderson put out a tweet, and he said, I have so many friends in WWE messaging me about how unhappy they are and about how terrible that environment is and how it's just you're walking on eggshells constantly and it's not fun. And a lot of people, most people get into pro wrestling, yes, to make money, but a lot of people get in there to have fun as well. You take the fun out of it and you just get him constantly beat down, and you're a guy like Bray Wyatt and you have to look over your shoulder because you could get released because nobody's exempt. We can let you all go. I mean... like I said, it's almost like WWE, they're trying to give their rivals ammunition. Vince McMahon wasn't lying on that call. And I just think it's crazy. I mean, it really is crazy. And again, if we get any more information about it, we'll talk about it here on the channel. But it's just, it's absolutely crazy. I've seen a couple of you guys talking about a Mickie James tweet. I saw you mention it in the chat, so we'll see what Mickie James said. I'm sure she's not scared to say anything, so it'll be interesting what she said. This is what Mickie James had to say. So obviously the tweet was WWE saying, WWE has come to the terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in all of his future endeavors. Mickie James then tweeted, quote, I think what you meant to say is, thank you so much for coming up with such an incredible gimmick time and time again. One so cool and over. We really didn't know how to book it right, so we gave it to someone else so we can still make all the money off of it and let you go. I mean, Mickie James. Mickie James. What a tweet that is. She's not wrong. I'll drop a pen. She's not wrong at all. I mean, thing is, I mentioned this, and I'm sometimes a bit hesitant to mention stuff like this when it comes to Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss certainly has her fans. And when I say fans, there are some people on social media that if you mention you mention Alexa Bliss, they will come for you guys. I mean, they will come for you, and they will be ruthless. They will be vicious when they come for you about Alexa. You mentioned something about Alexa Bliss. But I mentioned this before, that like Alexa Bliss is going around, she's doing the Bray Wyatt gimmick, and at the same time she's doing the Bray Wyatt gimmick, Bray Wyatt's sitting at home. Now, Bray Wyatt's a good guy. I'm sure Bray Wyatt doesn't care. I think he's good friends with Alexa Bliss, but wouldn't that bother you? Wouldn't that bother you? It would bother me as well, being like, wait a minute, I'm sitting at home, I'm getting my downside guarantee, but I'm not getting the bonuses of being on the shows or doing whatever. And yet Alexa Bliss is doing the gimmick, and she's making money and being a featured part of the show. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. And as always, of course, on this Mickie James tweet, as I mentioned, because this is why I'm hesitant to say things about Alexa Bliss, underneath the Mickie James tweet, of course, the Alexa Bliss stands are fully out and baying for blood on poor Mickie James, because I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. This whole story is crazy. I'm waiting to see if we can get this Sean Ross Sapp report. I know it's going to be coming out very, very soon, and I wanna talk about that. Again, I know some people are like jumping on Mickie James, saying, it's not Alexa Bliss's fault. It's not Alexa Bliss's fault, but it's true. People misconstrue all this kind of stuff. So Mickie James, that tweet, they're looking at it like, she took a shot at Alexa Bliss. She didn't take a shot at Alexa Bliss. She took a shot at WWE. She's saying you shouldn't have given it to someone else and then profit on it, because what they've done there, WWE, they're not stupid. What they've done, Bray Wyatt's come up with an idea. He's come up with a gimmick. They've used it, given it to someone else, and then they realize, actually, we can fire Bray. We've still got the gimmick on TV. And that's not Alexa Bliss's fault. That isn't her fault. She's just doing what she's told. She's just doing what she's asked, and she's doing very well doing it. I'm not massively fan of the whole Lily stuff, but that is what it is. And I don't think Mickie James is taking a shot at Alexa Bliss. She's taking a shot at WWE, saying that, you basically took this guy's idea, fired him, and now what happens? And under the guise of budget cuts. It really is. I mean, it's shocking. Let's take a look at the chat. Jack Brewer says, was not surprised. I knew this day was coming. They gave Alexa Bliss all of his ideas, and Oldberg buried him. Well, obviously, let's not get started at that. That's just crazy. Let's not get started at that. That still is. I mean, that's up there with one of the worst booking decisions in recent WWE histories. The Goldberg situation. I think this report from Fightful Select has just come out in the last couple of seconds, so we can talk about this now, because again, this is a breaking story. And again, I know that you can get in a bit of trouble for this. I'll give you the broad strokes of this story, because we do get in trouble from Fightful when you say like this. So, okay, as I mentioned, Bray Wyatt, according to what Dave Meltzer is saying, Fightful are confirming that that Bray Wyatt himself was told that his release was due to budget cuts. Fightful have mentioned that they were told that Johnny Ace, as I speculated, so that's not a reach. I mean, I hardly am an inside source, but John Laurinaitis made the call to Bray Wyatt and also sent a notification out to shocked WWE talent moments before the news broke online that Bray Wyatt had been released. So, as I mentioned before, WWE released. Posted a Twitter post saying that Bray Wyatt had been released by WWE. They then deleted it, which led to people saying, was this a hack? Was this what was going on, essentially? But essentially, it was just a case of WWE got the post wrong, so they had to re-up it. But Sean Ross Sapp did then post at the time that he had heard that Bray Wyatt had indeed been released. So he was told, Bray Wyatt has been told that it's due to budget cuts. Reportedly, according to Fightful, they're saying that John Laurinaitis made the call and also sent out a notification. WWE have essentially this sort of app or a sort of a mass text kind of thing when people get released or they need to be there's a change in rules, change in whatever. They send out like a mass text or a mass message to everyone, and a mass message has been sent out to the WWE talent saying that Bray Wyatt has been released. Now, the notion of as I mentioned, the budget cut part of Bray Wyatt's release has obviously surprised a lot of people within WWE, according to Fightful. Now, again, this is why I was very surprised, because the Fiend character is very over in terms of merchandise sales. Sells a ton of merchandise online in terms of gloves, puppets, masks, T-shirts, whatever. It's a very merch-savvy gimmick. So a lot of people are very surprised that Wyatt was released, because he makes a ton of money, especially since they're returning to live events. A source indicated to Fightful that Wyatt was a moneymaker for the company when that's the case. Now, following the release that was about an hour or so ago, Fightful also told that Wyatt's name was actually brought up during another recent round of cuts. So I guess possibly Bray Wyatt's name head has been on the chopping block, if you will, for a while. There have been multiple wrestlers that have been discussed at all of these periods of times whenever they've been doing releases or anything like that, but for whatever reason they've been held on to, or it's been convinced that they should stay. So whenever they've been doing these talent cuts or these budget cuts and talents have been released, there have been some names that were discussed that eventually did stay with the company. As I've mentioned, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, or certainly Dave Meltzer, is reporting that Wyatt was slated to return in August, and Fightful are also backing up that report, saying that there were plans in place for Wyatt to return in August as well, which would lead one to state that if Wyatt had plans, or the WWE indeed had plans for Wyatt to return in August, then there isn't any kind of medical issue, there isn't kind of issue in terms of physically being able to return to the ring or anything like that. The Observer, Meltzer, and now Sean Ross Sapp are both reporting that there were plans in place for Bray Wyatt to return in August, so there doesn't appear to be any medical issue right now. That's staggering. That is absolutely staggering. Again, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that the creative team had been relayed that Wyatt was getting protective of his character after what was seen as poor creative decisions and ideas thrown his way. Though many members of the team didn't speak to Wyatt directly, I wasn't sure if this was hearsay. So that's fascinating as well. I think arguably that's the most fascinating part of that report there by Sean Ross Sapp, was that essentially the creative team have been told on numerous occasions that Wyatt is getting very protective of his character, and he's unhappy with their pitching of ideas for the gimmick and poor creative decisions. And can you blame the guy? Can you blame the guy for getting protective of his character, protective of his gimmick, when some of the creative decisions that have been levied his way have been awful, terrible? I mean, just absolutely batshit awful. Absolutely awful. Losing to Goldberg in a couple of minutes after he was undefeated. I mean, how was that a good decision? Losing to Randy Orton at WrestleMania, when obviously the whole storyline was that he would win that. All of that kind of stuff. All of these decisions, all of it. Of course he would be protective of his gimmick. They have butchered this character into the ground. Red lights. Who cares about that stupid red light during that whole character? Even when the first time, I mean, he won the Universal Championship almost by happenstance, because I don't even think the original plan was to put the Universal title on him. He had that match against Seth Rollins when Rollins was still being booked as that big over babyface. Remember that? Hell in the Cell. And the fans wanted Bray Wyatt to win. They wanted the Fiend to win. Guess why? Because it was a great character. We hadn't seen anything like that in so long. Something unique, something different. And they went with a stupid no contest finish in a Hell in a Cell match, by the way. How dumb was that? And the crowd hated it, and they pissed all over it. And they said, this is crap. And you don't blame them, do you? You don't blame them, because it was a stupid booking decision. So if that report is accurate from Fightful there, why wouldn't he be hesitant to work with the creative team? Why wouldn't he be protective of his gimmick? Why wouldn't he be? Because he's looked at them and said, look, I've given you this. I've given you this character. I've given you the Fiend. I've given you the Firefly Funhouse. I've given you this version of Bray Wyatt, and you have absolutely butchered it. Butchered it and just creatively stifled me. So, of course, I'm going to be protective over that. And then you get some people in WWE going, well, they just don't understand our genius. So why can't you work with the creative team? Why would you want to work with the creative team? So, I mean, I don't think now, I think that kind of puts a dampener on rumors that he's not medically cleared or anything like that. Because if WWE had plans for Bray Wyatt to return in August, then he would be medically cleared. Logic would state then whenever his 90-day non-compete clause is up, he's ready to go. And he will be ready to go. And look, let's not beat around the bush here. It's very likely he goes to AEW. I would be absolutely stunned, let's be honest, stunned if he doesn't go to AEW right now. And that's the situation. Considering how this has ended for him, considering that WWE has released him as part of budget cuts, which I would be incredibly offended by if I was Bray Wyatt. budget cuts, I'd be incredibly offended. I mean, Bray Wyatt it's the biggest name. It's the biggest name that's been released by WWE. As part of these budget cuts, I mean, Samoa Joe was up there. He came back. I don't think Bray Wyatt's going to come back either because, again, I would be furious with that. So, look, I would if I was Bray Wyatt, I'd say, right, budget cuts, okay, screw you, I'm off. And I wouldn't be surprised if already he's getting texts on his phone from people in AEW because that's where he's going to go. I have no doubt about it. And I know people that don't like AEW will say, well, he's not going to move the needle and it's not going to make any difference. And WWE doesn't view him as competition, all that kind of stuff. You're looking at a roster. Potentially, again, we're talking 90 days, so 3 months. What are we now? August. 3 months. We're talking about maybe November, around November-ish time. So maybe around the time of Full Gear. I don't know what the dates are for Full Gear. I don't know how that pays out or plays up. That's what we could be looking at. But around that period of time, I think Bray Wyatt's going to be all elite. And then you're looking at a roster in November that has all the names we have on there at the moment, whether it's Kenny Omega, whether it's Cody Rhodes, whether it's the Young Bucks, whether it's Jon Moxley, whether it's Hangman Page, whether it's Chris Jericho. Add in CM Punk. Add in Bryan Danielson. Add in Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda, whatever you want to call him, or whatever character he's going to do. Who knows if he'll even do this? Bray Wyatt's a creative guy. He's reestablished himself twice. He's come up with new characters twice during his WWE career in one of the most creatively stifling environments around. He's managed to do that. So if he goes into an environment like an AEW, which I think is inevitable at this point, I mean, you can never say never, but it's inevitable that he will go there, and he has a little bit of creative freedom, and there's a collaborative effort, you know he's going to do some crazy stuff. I mean, some people even criticize The Fiend for being too horror for PG WWE. And AEW ain't afraid to do anything. They got Nick Gage slicing up Chris Jericho's head with a pizza cutter whilst the Domino's pizza commercial's going on. You think that Bray Wyatt will be scared about doing a real-life horror film there? Now, is he going to do the same stuff? Is he going to do the same, dichotomous personality and having a child's television presenter and this gruesome Fiend character? I don't know if he'll do that. But look, this is a real huge story. Of course, again, we'll talk about it more. We'll probably wrap things up around now. But look, guys, if you are new to the channel, I noticed we've got about 56 people watching right now, which is amazing for a big breaking story. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to smash a like on the video. Let's see how many likes we're on right now again. I know that we were about on 30 or something like that, which is amazing. So I really appreciate everyone that's tuning in right now. We're currently on 41 likes, so let's try and get it up to 50 if we can. So if you are new to the video, be sure to smash a like on the like button. If you are new to the channel as well, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let's do a quick subscriber check as well. I don't know how many subscribers we're on as well. I know we're currently on 4,357. So let's see if we can get to 4,360. If you are new to the channel, we only need 3. We only need 3. So possibly, if you are new to the channel, let's subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. You might even be the person that sends us to 4,360. Tonight as well, we are going to be doing an Impact Homecoming watch-along here on the channel. We also are going to be doing an Impact Homecoming post-show too. So we've got tons coming up on the channel. So be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live for the watch-along and for the post-show reaction stream tonight as well. Let's check the chat very, very quickly before we wrap things up. Graham Caldwell says, Owen, do you think there is scope down the line for a stable somewhere, including Wyatt, Strowman, and Rowan? Not sure which company suits them best. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I think they're all kind of interested in doing their own thing. But look, time will tell. But look, guys.